Paul Doyle, the man at the center of one of the most explosive and outrageous incidents in recent UK memory, was meant to appear before Liverpool Magistrates Court today. But in a jaw-dropping twist, that hearing has now been ripped out of the local court's hands and seized directly by none other than the UK Supreme Court itself. Yes, you heard that right. The Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, one that typically deals with constitutional matters and precedent-setting legal battles, has now swooped in and taken control of a case involving one man, one vehicle, and an unspeakable act of violence on what should have been a day of joy for the city of Liverpool. And here's the kicker. Supreme Court President Lord Robert John Reid has refused to comment. Why? Why is the President of the Supreme Court, a man paid by the taxpayers, tasked with safeguarding justice, suddenly clamming up when a case that's rocked the nation is quietly and secretively being escalated straight into his courtroom? Let's rewind.
The highest court in the
Monday,
land has
the 26th of May, 2025.
One that sends shockwaves
Thousands of fans pour into Liverpool city centre to celebrate their football heroes.
Labour MPs.
The city was painted red, flags waving, children cheering, generations of families coming together, and then chaos. A dark Ford Galaxy blows into the crowd.
It started with
screams, panic, blood on the pavement.
A quiet little
79 people injured.
From
the youngest just 9 years old.
Pensions.
Yes, the oldest.
Your pensions will be considered
78.
Part of your estate.
What should have been a moment of unity became a scene of horror.
At the full 40%
and at the center of it all, Paul Desmond Sanders Doyle, a 53-year-old man from West Derby, Liverpool, now charged with 7 counts, all horrifically violent.
Until you realize
we're talking 2 counts of unlawful and malicious wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, 2 counts of causing grievous bodily harm with intent, 2 counts of attempted grievous bodily harm, and 1 count of dangerous driving.
You sailed past
all this under Section 18 of the Offences Against the Person Act 1861, a law over 160 years old. But this isn't just a historical technicality. This is serious, high-level, life-destroying criminal law.
They told you
the Crown Prosecution Service and Merrickside Police were crystal clear. This is a massive, ongoing, complex investigation, thousands of hours of CCTV, dozens of witness statements, mobile phone footage, dash cam clips, body WN camera feeds,
and in
the
a stunning turn of events.
Yet, just as Doyle was about to appear before Liverpool Magistrates Court, the entire legal process got hijacked out of the blue. The case has been escalated to the Supreme Court, a move unprecedented for this stage in criminal proceedings. Why? Who ordered this?
Labour MPs were using
who benefits?
Loopholes
we've
and
been digging,
trusts to protect
and what we've found
estates.
Is deeply disturbing.
The same estates they want
there
to
is no
drain
public
from you.
explanation for why
now,
the Supreme Court has intervened this early.
Land has delivered a
legal experts
judgment,
are stunned.
One that sends
even former judges and senior barristers we've spoken to, off the record, of course, have called this highly irregular, unusual, and deeply political. And here's what makes this even more outrageous. When approached for comment, Lord Reid, the most senior judge in the country, refused to say a single word. Not a sentence, not a press release, not even a vague statement acknowledging the public's right to know.
Your
silence,
will be considered
cold,
part of your
calculated silence.
That means
this isn't just any case. This is a case involving mass public injury, a possible act of terrorism, or at minimum a targeted assault on civilians during a national celebration. This is a matter of public trust, of justice, of transparency. And yet, our highest court is playing cloak and dagger while the public is left in the dark. Why is Lord Reid hiding? Is this a matter of national security?
They thought they could
Is there government interference?
For months.
Is there an attempt to bury the truth about who Paul Doyle really is, who he knows, and why this happened? Remember, earlier in the week, outrage flared online when some raised questions about the handling of this case compared to others. The police were quick, unusually quick, to reveal Doyle's identity, age, and background. Some hailed this transparency, others asked why this case, and not others.
But now they've been
caught. Now, just as the nation braces for answers in court, the gavel is snatched away from Liverpool and placed firmly into the hands of an elite few in London. Let's not sugarcoat this.
Because
This
while
stinks
Reeves
of a
was
cover-up.
out slapping
Let's talk
£200,000
motive.
tax bills on families
Could this be
earning
about
just
control?
£20,000 a year,
Is the establishment
it turns
terrified
out
of what this
Labour
trial
MPs
might
were
reveal?
using offshore
Is there more to
loopholes
Paul
and
Doyle than a
obscure
simple act
trusts
of
to protect
recklessness?
their own estates?
Was this
the same
deliberate?
estates they want to drain
Was it
from
political?
you. Now,
Are
the
we being
highest
primed
court
yet
in the
again for a
land has
sanitized
delivered
version
a
of justice where the rich,
thunderous
powerful,
one that
or
sends
connected get handled
shockwaves
in
through
private chambers
Westminster,
while the victims,
one
79
that's
of them, are
already
left
led
to
to
bleed in
multiple Labour
silence?
MPs,
And what of
family
the people of
estates being
Liverpool?
frozen,
Do
and
they not
one that
deserve
may
to see
just
this
shatter
case
the moral
unfold in their own
credibility
city?
of Comma's entire
To look the accused in the eye,
Let's
to hear
break
every
this
grim
down.
detail of what
It
really
started
happened
with
that
what
day.
Reeves called a simple
Instead,
reform,
they've been robbed
a
of that
quiet little
chance.
change buried in
And
the
not by the
budget.
man behind
From
the wheel, but by the
2027,
very system that's supposed to
pensions.
protect them.
Yes, your
Let's
pensions
be
will
clear,
be considered
this
part
is
of
not
your
justice.
estate when you die.
This
That
is
means
manipulation.
they'll be taxed at the full 40%
And while Lord Reed may think his
inheritance rate
silence
if
is
your
dignified,
combined
we call
assets
it
go
what it
above
is, cowardice.
£325,000.
Paul Doyle may be the man
Now,
behind the
that
wheel,
might
but the
sound
legal
like a
elite
lot
are now
until you
firmly in the
realize
driver's
the
seat,
average
and they are
UK
speeding
home
straight
is
toward a
already
constitutional
worth
crisis.
£268,000.
The public deserves answers.
At a modest pension
The
pot,
victims demand
say
accountability, and unless someone speaks up soon, the trust
and boom,
between the people and the
you've
justice
sailed
system
past
may
the
never
threshold.
recover.
They thought
So
they
here's
could get
the question
away
on
with it.
everyone's lips.
For months, Rachel
What are they
Reeves
hiding?
and her Labour cronies have
And more
hammered
importantly,
working
who are
families
they
with
protecting?
stealth taxes and financial
Because justice,
landmines.
if it's to
They
mean
told
anything,
you it
cannot
was
be
about
served in
fairness.
silence.
They told you
In another
it was
news,
about the
the
rich
country
paying
is in
their
shock.
share. But what they
A
didn't
national
tell
celebration turned
you, what
into a
they
blood-soaked
hoped you'd never
nightmare.
find out is that they
7 to
themselves
9
were
injured,
quietly
7
shielding
in
their
hospital.
own wealth from the
A
very
9-year-old
tax
child
traps
among
they
the
set
victims
for
and
you.
at the center of
But
it
now
all,
they've
one
been
name,
caught.
Paul Doyle.
And in a stunning turn
But
of
while the
events,
media, the
the
police,
Supreme
and the
Court
Crown
has stepped in.
Prosecution Service are
That's
scrambling
right.
to present
Labour's
a unified
own
front,
inheritance
something
tax
stinks.
scheme has exploded
And Prince
in their
William
faces.
is having families
Because
torn
while Reeves
apart
was
in
out
seconds.
slapping £200,000
Lives permanently
tax bills
scarred.
on families earning
But
just
as charges mount,
£20,000
dangerous
a year,
driving,
it
GBH
turns
with
out
intent,
Labour MPs
multiple
were
counts of
using
attempted
offshore
wounding.
loopholes and
Prince
obscure
William has
trusts
broken
to
royal
protect their
silence,
own
demanding
estates.
one thing the
The
public
same
deserves
estates
more
they
than
want
ever:
to drain from you.
real evidence.
Now, the highest court
Behind
in the
closed
land
doors,
has delivered
royal
a
aides
thunderous
confirm what many
judgment,
suspected.
one that sends shockwaves
The future
through
king is furious.
Westminster. One
Not
that's
just at the
already
devastation
led
of
to
that day,
multiple Labour
but at how quickly
MPs,
blame was placed
family
before the facts
estates
were fully
being
known.
frozen, and
Show
one
me the
that may
truth,
just
not a
shatter the moral
scapegoat.
credibility of Comma's
Those were
entire
reportedly the Duke
party.
of Cornwall's
Let's
words when
break
briefed
this
on the
down.
case.
It started with
A damning
what Reeves
indictment of
called
the
a
legal
simple
machinery
reform,
now barreling
a
toward a
quiet
public
little
trial
change
without
buried
full
in the
transparency.
budget. From 2027,
Let's not forget the investigation is still in its early
yes,
stages.
Your pensions will be
The very
considered part
officials
of
who
your estate
charged
when
Paul
you
Doyle
die.
also admitted
That
they are
means
still
they'll be
trolling through
taxed at the full
CCTV,
40%
still sorting witness
inheritance rate
statements
if
and
your
still appealing
combined
to the public
assets
for
go
more
above
footage.
£325,000.
And yet, they've already decided to
Now,
throw the book at
that
him.
might sound like a lot
That's
until
not justice.
you realize the average UK
That's a
home
PR
is
cover-up dressed
already
in
worth
legal robes.
£268,000.
And who better to challenge it than Prince
At a
William,
modest
a man
pension
who has
pot,
spent years watching
say
the institution he was born into rot from the inside with
and
silence
boom,
and complicity.
You sailed past the threshold.
Not this time.
They thought they could get
Sources
away
close
with
to the
it.
palace say
For
the prince
months,
was deeply
Rachel
disturbed. The
Reeves and her
ethnicity and
Labour
background
cronies
were
have hammered
weaponized by
working
both media and
families with
social
stealth
media
taxes
commentators
and
but not
financial
addressed in the official
landmines.
narrative.
They told you it was
When the
about
suspect
fairness.
fits a certain
They
profile,
told you
full
it was
details
about
are released
the rich
instantly.
paying their share.
But when the
what they didn't
profile
tell
doesn't
you,
fit the narrative,
what they
mum's
hoped
the
you'd
word.
never find out
And
is
while
that
the
they
Micahide
themselves
police
were
urged the
quietly
public not to
shielding
speculate,
their own
they
wealth
are
from
releasing
the
just
very
enough
tax
information
traps
to
they
allow the
set for you.
speculation they prefer.
But now they've been caught.
Convenient,
and in a
isn't
stunning
it?
turn of events,
But now the prince has
Supreme
fired
Court
a
has
shot
stepped
across
in.
the bow and it
That's
sent
right.
ripples through both
Labour's
political and
own
policing
inheritance
circles.
tax scheme has
Why this
exploded
man?
in their faces.
Why now?
Because while Reeves was
Why
out
so
slapping
fast?
£200,000
Those are the
tax
questions
bills on
that Prince
families
William and
earning
many
just
furious citizens
£20,000
are demanding
a year,
answers to.
it turns out
Let's
Labour
be clear.
MPs were using offshore
If Paul Doyle is guilty,
loopholes and
he must
obscure
be held
trusts
accountable to the
protect
fullest
their
extent
own
of the law.
estates. The same
But
estates
rushing
they want to
charges and
drain
trial
from
by
you.
media is not
Now,
justice.
the highest court
It's
in the land
performance.
has delivered a thunderous
The parade may
judgment,
be over.
one that sends
The streets may be washed clean, but the dirt beneath the surface remains, and the monarchy's heir is not afraid to stir it.
Family estates
This is no longer just about one man in a flawed galaxy.
Just shatter the moral
it's about how quickly our
institutions
sacrifice process for appearance.
Let's break this down.
And with the eyes of a future king now fixed firmly on this case, the pressure is on.
Little change buried
no more
in the
shadows,
budget.
no more
From
silence.
2027.
Prince William wants the facts, all of
Your
them.
pensions will be considered
Because
part
if
of your
justice is
estate
truly
when you
blind,
die.
then it
That
must walk
means
hand in
they'll be
hand with
taxed
truth,
at the
not
full
with political
40%
pressure, not
inheritance
with media
rate if
spin,
your
and
combined
certainly not with
assets go
cover-ups.
above
The message from Kensington is clear.
Now, that
We will
might
not let
sound
this
like
be
a
swept
lot
under the
until you
rug.
realize the average
The people
UK
deserve
home is
answers.
already worth
The victims deserve justice.
£268,000.
And
At
Paul
a
Doyle
modest
deserves a
pension
fair
pot,
trial based on
say
evidence, not outrage.
£228,000.
And if the
boom,
system can't
you
provide that,
sailed past
then
the
maybe it's not
threshold.
just Paul Doyle
They
on
thought
trial.
they could get away with
Maybe,
it. For
just maybe,
months,
it's the
Rachel
system
Reeves
itself.
and her Labour cronies have
In another
hammered
news,
working
the
families
UK
with
Supreme
stealth
Court has
taxes
seized
and
jurisdiction
financial
over a growing
landmines.
legal war,
They
one that
told
pits
you it
religious
was
freedom
about
against what it
fairness.
calls animal
They
welfare
told you it was
priorities.
about the rich paying
And at the
their
center
share.
of this
But what
firestorm
they
is one
didn't tell
name,
you,
Lord Robert
what
Reed,
they hoped
President
you'd
of the
never
Supreme
find out
Court,
is
who
that
has
they
refused to
themselves
shy
were
away from
quietly
controversy.
shielding their own wealth
That's
from the
right.
very tax traps
The
they
highest
set
court
for
in the
you.
land is now
But
stepping
now
into the
they've
most
been
explosive
caught.
cultural
And in a
debate of the
stunning
decade.
turn of events,
One
the
that has
Supreme
split
Court has
Parliament,
stepped in.
rocked communities,
That's right.
and thrown the nation
Labour's
into moral
own
chaos.
inheritance tax scheme
The
has
question,
exploded
should
in their
halal slaughter,
faces.
a centuries-old
Because while
religious
Reeves
practice,
was
be banned on British soil?
£100,000 tax
Animal
bills
rights
on
activists
families
say
earning
yes,
just
and they are not whispering it
£20,000
anymore.
a year. It
With
turns
over
out
100,000
Labour MPs
signatures
were
and mounting
using
public
offshore
fury, they've
loopholes
forced
and
Parliament's
obscure
hand.
trusts to protect their
But it's
own
the Supreme
estates.
Court's sudden
The same
intervention that
estates
shocked
they
the
want to
nation.
drain from you.
And now Lord Reed
the
himself has
highest
weighed
court
in,
the land
sending a
has
chilling
delivered
message
a
to religious
thunderous
groups
judgment,
across the UK.
one that sends shockwaves
In a
through
civilized
Westminster.
society, animal welfare
One
must
that's
come before
already
religious
led to
exemption.
multiple Labour MPs.
Let that sink in.
Family estates being
The President
frozen.
of the Supreme Court,
And one
the
that
highest
may just
legal
shatter
authority in the
moral
land, is
credibility
placing
of
animals
Comma's
above
entire
religion.
Party.
And to
Let's
many
break
that
this
signals a
down.
dangerous
It
precedent,
started with
a
what
Christian
Reeves
majority
called a
court,
simple
a Christian
reform,
majority
a
parliament,
quiet
and
little
now a
change
religious
buried
practice
in the
under
budget.
siege.
From
But
2027,
what triggered this legal earthquake?
pensions. Yes,
Let's rewind.
Your pensions will be considered
The
part of
halal
your
method,
estate when
practiced
you die.
by millions of
That
Muslims,
means they'll be
involves
taxed
slaughtering
at
an
the full
animal by a swift
40%
cut to the throat
inheritance
without
rate if
stunning
your
it first,
combined
letting it
assets
bleed
go
to
above
death.
£325,000.
Conscious kosher slaughter follows a similar method for the
that
Jewish
might sound
community.
like a lot until you
For
realize
decades,
the
this has
average
been
UK
protected
home
under
is
religious
already
exemption
worth
laws, allowing Muslims and Jews to practice their
£268,000.
faiths freely,
At a
just as
modest
Christians
pension
enjoy
pot,
theirs.
say
But that protection is now
£228,000,
crumbling.
and boom,
And leading
you
the
sailed
charge is
past
a
the
wave of new
threshold.
politicians and
They
media
thought they
figures
could
who
get away
decided that
with it.
religion no longer
For
deserves a
months,
special place
Rachel
in Britain's
Reeves
legal
and her Labour
structure.
cronies have hammered
Political
working
commentator
families with
Charlie
stealth
Diaz,
taxes
a
and
rising media
financial
star,
landmines.
laid it bare.
They told you
Britain
it was
is
about
a Christian
fairness.
country, and
They
I don't
told
think we
you
should
it was
apologize
about
for
the rich
prioritizing
paying their
Christian
share.
values,
But
including
what
a
they didn't
long-standing
tell you,
love of animals
what
over
they
other
hoped
beliefs.
you'd never find out is that they
Translation,
themselves
your
were
faith
quietly
is secondary.
shielding their own wealth
Your
from the
traditions
very
barbaric,
tax traps they set
outdated.
for you. But
You
now
and
they've
British.
been caught. And in a
But here's the
stunning turn of
hypocrisy.
events, the
The
Supreme
UK
Court has
continues
stepped
to
in.
tolerate factory
That's right.
farming where millions
Labour's
of animals
own
suffer
inheritance
unspeakable
tax
cruelty.
scheme has exploded
Crammed
in
into
their
cages
faces.
pumped with chemicals,
Because while Reeves
never
was
seeing
out
sunlight.
slapping £200,000
That's right.
tax bills on families
4 minutes to
earning
bleed in
just
halal slaughter is
£20,000
too
a
cruel.
year. It turns
But a lifetime
out
of
Labour
torture
MPs
in
were
industrial
using
farms is
offshore
fine.
loopholes and
Where's
obscure
the
trusts
outrage
to
there?
protect their own estates.
Animal rights or
the
selective
same
moral
estates
panic?
they want to drain from you.
Because let's be honest,
Now,
this
the
debate
highest
isn't just
court
about
in the land
animals.
has delivered a thunderous
It's about
judgment,
control,
one that
conformity,
sends
and the silent
shockwaves
erosion
through
of religious
Westminster,
liberty in the name of
one
progress.
that's already led to
Don't
multiple
take our
Labour
word for it.
MPs. Family
Just listen to
estates
Mohammed
being
Amen,
frozen,
co-chair of the
and one
Muslim
that may
Jewish
just
Forum of
shatter
Greater
the moral
Manchester.
credibility of
If
Comma's
halal and kosher
entire
slaughter are
party.
banned,
Let's break
entire
this
communities
down.
will be